Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavadi Tamastu Ma Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And we'll attempt to share the screen. Virtual reality and temple mysticism. Comparing the evolving digital world and metaverse with experience in the traditional Hindu innerverse. Oh, this is scheduled to be the publisher's desk in April 2023. Oh, it goes through one more editing in January, but it's going to be pretty much like you see it today. Mm-hmm. We have all observed that the younger generations have a much higher interest in all things digital than previous generations. As digital experience proliferates and grows more realistic and compelling, it is entirely possible that its proper use could serve to deepen the younger generation's understanding of and interest in Hinduism's perspective of the deities and inner worlds. I have asked, can the experience of non-physical digital worlds help youth understand and appreciate traditional religious views of non-physical spiritual worlds? To explore this, we need to look at the major digital trends. The earliest computer-generated virtual worlds, and this image is computer-generated, and characters are known respectively as computer-generated imagery, CGI, and computer graphics and animation, CGA. Over the last few decades, the level of sophistication has increased remarkably, driven by artificial intelligence at light speed. Take the 2021 Academy Award-winning computer-animated musical and comedic fantasy film Encanto. Watching the movie, viewers soon forgot the characters or animations and start relating to them. The viewer is passive, unable to interact with the story. On a parallel track, digital gaming has evolved from the early incarnations of Pong and Tetris into massively multiplayer online games, MMOs, which can bring thousands, even millions of players together in immersive worlds. Advanced games have graphics more realistic than movie animations and boast massive and traversable worlds. The current largest digital geography is equivalent to 62,000 square miles, almost the size of Great Britain in real life. Recent technologies take digital experience beyond films or gaming, allowing an individual to actively explore a virtual environment with other individuals who share that same space. Augmented reality superimposes a computer-generated image into a user's view of the real world, creating a composite view. Using this technology, one can place, for example, a digital sculpture of Lord Ganesha on a desk and move around it or lift it as though it were actually in the room. So I couldn't find one of Lord Ganesha yet, so you'll have to imagine that's Lord Ganesha there, that blue creature. Virtual reality goes a step further, using sophisticated goggles to create a full computer-simulated environment that may be populated by many users. The metaverse, a term made popular by Facebook for its AR/VR platform, combines these new technologies with advanced virtual worlds as are used in MMOs. These worlds continue to be active and alive even when one user logs off. This virtual landscape can be used not only for play, but also for work, creativity, or socializing. Interesting. It could even end up being used at work. Maybe our future Path to Shiva webinars will have their own metaverse. No wonder youth are deeply engaged with these technologies, for they marry the real world with the imagined, creating a storytelling adventure that is literally out of this world, one with infinite possibilities. It is Grimm's fairy tales on steroids. The idea of worlds, material and immaterial, can be found in the Hindu concept of the three worlds, Triloka, which are the primary divisions of the cosmos. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishads tell us that. Now, there are of a truth three worlds, the world of men, the world of the fathers, and the world of the gods. The world of the gods is verily the best of worlds. Our Himalayan Academy lexicon gives a more technical description. Bhuloka, earth world, the physical plane. Antarloka, inner or in-between world, the subtle or astral plane. Shivaloka, world of Shiva and of the gods and highly evolved souls, the causal plane, also called Karanaloka. Computers are used to create worlds in virtual reality that individuals can experience through digital devices. Similarly, the Hindu temple serves as a channel to experiencing the two very real non-physical worlds, the astral plane and the causal plane. The causal plane in particular is difficult to experience. It is most readily accessed through worship in the temple. So that's our parallel there. Take a second to comment on it. In the virtual reality, the computer is creating the world, and then the user needs a digital device, such as goggles, to experience it. In Hinduism, worship in the Hindu temple is creating the interaction of the three worlds, and we'll find out what the person needs to experience it in a moment. Don't want to give it away. Gurudeva declared, all Saivites believe that religion is the harmonious working together of the three worlds, and that this harmony can be created through temple worship, wherein the beings of all three worlds can communicate. During the puja, the deity comes and hovers over and in the murti in his/her subtle body. A verse from Saivite Ajita Agama states, Shivalingam Puja is for the purpose of invoking the presence of Sadashiva in the lingam. This concept is explained in Vaishnavite Sattvata Samhita, Pancharatra Agama equivalent. When the perfectly designed image is systematically installed, he occupies the consecrated image. By his gracious presence in that image, he gives concrete and visible expressions to all of his transcendental and imperceptible qualities. This is analogous to augmented reality technology, in which youth are exploring the interface of the material world and the immaterial world, finding their path to understanding the two. To experience augmented reality, a digital device is needed with powerful microprocessors, advanced cameras, and real-time object recognition. Cameras capture information from the surrounding real world. Then objects are detected and mapped into the computer's understanding of the world, wherein virtual objects may be added. Sensors then detect where in the real world you are pointing the device and render your perspective in the virtual world to the display. What then is needed to perceive the deity hovering in and above the murti during the puja? We need the inherent abilities of our soul. These abilities to experience the unseen increase as our devotion to the deity deepens. just as the fidelity of virtual experiences improves with each technological advancement. So we need devotion. In other words, you can go into the temple, attend a puja, and not much happens if you haven't yet awakened devotion. But if you have a lot of devotion, then you'll experience the deity in some form, either at least the energy, the sanidhya coming forth from the shrine, and sometimes a vision, where the deity may smile, you may see the eyes, so forth. In some sense, the deity is there, just like in augmented reality. So the deity is actually in the third world, but projecting himself into the first world. Gurudeva gave this explanation of this process. Hindu priests invoke the gods to come and manifest for a few minutes within the sanctum of the temple. The deities do come in their subtle bodies of light. They hover in and above the stone image and bless the people. If you are psychic and your third eye is open, you can see the god there and have his personal darshana. So you've heard this one before, but it's good for the article. Gurudeva started holding group pilgrimages for his devotees in 1969, and I have continued that pattern, with the most recent pilgrimage being held in 2019. Many of the programs went to India and Sri Lanka, where devotees had the opportunity to attend grand ceremonies at ancient temples. Many devotees had visions of the deities, born of the intensity of pilgrimage and inner striving, in which the form of the stone or bronze murti would move or smile at them like an animated human-like figure. Sometimes the experience of the deity, instead of being visual, is auditory, in that the deity speaks a specific message to the devotee. More than a few devotees have told us of experiencing this at our temple in Hawaii. It usually takes place during the puja at the time the curtain is opened, and the fully decorated deity is being presented various lamps, an offering called Alankara Deepa. So it's very interesting to have someone come up to you after the puja and say, Nataraja spoke to me, told me to come back next year on my birthday. Very specific message the man received, and others received specific messages too. Visions of the deity can also take place when the devotee is not in the temple, such as in meditation or deep sleep. These times the devotee is looking into the world of the deity, the third world or Karanaloka, where the deities and fully liberated souls reside. This can be compared to the experience of virtual reality, when one is not at all aware of his physical surroundings, being fully immersed in a non-physical world. We can compare aspects of the Hindu inner worlds to the metaverse of online gaming, wherein the virtual world continues to exist even when you are not in it. An interesting quality of the metaverse. It's always there, even when different players depart. It doesn't go away. In a temple, because of its consecrated purpose in daily pujas, some devas are always present, which is the parallel to the metaverse always existing. During ceremonies, devotees join in the physical world. Additional devas join in the Antarloka, and at the high point of the ceremony, the deity comes in the Karanaloka for a short time. Furthermore, each temple has its own distinct inner world, so that multiple temple inner worlds exist at the same time, as do multiple digital metaverses. We now have a way of relating temple worship to digital technology that was not previously obvious, thereby creating a bridge to younger generations. Teens experiencing a metaverse with a digital device and parents worshiping in a temple are both interacting with non-physical realms. One is a digital world made accessible by computers, and the other is a subtle world made accessible by temple worship. What's to say the young people of the future might not use this technology to create and worship in a digital temple, not unlike a Brahmin performing manasana, mental, puja on a long flight to London. Today, many temples are live streaming their pujas, sparking debate over whether one can experience the deity's blessings and Shakti remotely through digital devices outside the psychic force field of the physical temple. Those who tune into our Kauai live stream pujas have told us yes, to an extent. After all, in both the digital and the subtle worlds, all experience happens in the mind of the perceiver. And it's not in the article, but my opinion is that it's easier to do if you have visited the temple and have a good connection with it. That makes it easier to tune into it. But if you've never been there, in my opinion, it's harder to do. Okay, let's see what we have next. Answering some questions sent into satsang@hindu.org. What will be the nature of awareness after moksha? What will awareness be aware of after moksha? So I'm going to answer part of it today and then part of it next Zoom satsang. So the question shows me that we need to understand the difference between realization, liberation, and final merger. So they're quite distinct in Gurudeva's teachings. One does not produce the other instantaneously. So we'll look at that today, and then we'll go back to the question and what we looked at next time and take it a little bit further. A wonderful and simple answer in Path to Shiva, Lesson 3. What is the ultimate goal of life? Knowing God is life's highest goal, reached by mature souls following a spiritual path, just as only the most highly disciplined climbers reach the summit of Mount Everest every year. Only a few mature souls reach life's highest peak in this life. That is because souls were not all created at once. There are old souls and young souls. Older souls have matured over many lifetimes. They have enjoyed life's pleasures, suffered all the many sorrows, and faced countless challenges. This process has made them strong, like the mountaineers, and ready for the final ascent, ready to become one with God, Shiva. As we mature, we become kind, generous, understanding, and truthful. Anger, fear, and jealousy no longer control us as they once did. We become wise and loving. Reaching this maturity moves us toward life's true purpose. Eventually, we no longer need the experiences of earth, so we do not need to be reborn. Instead, we continue to evolve and serve humanity in the heavenly worlds in our subtle body. This graduation from the cycle of reincarnation is called moksha, which means freedom, release, or liberation. It's a big moksha. But before we attain moksha, we must experience the highest goal of Raja Yoga, the realization of the self-God. So therefore, we've addressed two of the concepts so far. First, we need realization of the self-God. After that, we can attain moksha. After realization, you no longer see yourself as just someone from some place. Instead, when you look inward, you see Shiva. When you look at other people, you see Shiva. All souls will achieve moksha, but only a few will do so in this lifetime. Hindus know this and do not think that this life is the last. While seeking to perfect themselves through service, worship, and yoga, They know there is also much progress to be made in fulfilling life's other three goals: righteousness, wealth, and enjoyment. Dharma, Artha, and Kama. We don't use much Sanskrit in Path to Shiva on purpose. But even moksha is not the end of the path. After liberation from rebirth, the soul body continues to evolve in the inner worlds until it fully merges with God. Jiva, the soul, becomes Shiva, a union called Vishvagrasa. Being on an ancient path, followed by countless souls, gives a serene feeling that everything is all right as it is, that everything is perfect. So next time we'll look at the question and compare it to what happens to awareness after realizing the self, God, what happens to awareness after moksha, and what happens to awareness after Vishvagrasa. So we'll get three answers to one question. And our third topic, interesting word, philomathy. That's like philosophy. Philomathy. 44th character quality. Our character building workbook. And if you can't define it, you're not alone. Philomathy. We tried to find one word to encompass the concept, and that was the only word we could find, even though it's pretty obscure. So I won't sit there very long. Philomathy is a fancy word that describes a love of acquiring new knowledge. A love of acquiring new knowledge. I cultivate it by being a constant student of life, exploring areas, including new vocabulary, in which I have strong interests, and developing new interests. The opposite is stagnation. And Gurudeva's quotes, the dedicated student who has applied himself seriously leaves college not with a know-it-all feeling, but with an awareness of the limits of the intellect and profound respect for the vast amount of knowledge that he has yet to discover or unfold. Second quote, learn to concentrate the mind so that you can study not from books, but from observation, which is the first awakening of the soul. Learn to study by practice. Learn to study by application. So these are different ways we can acquire knowledge. Comparing the actions of one who is philomathic to one who is stagnant. For situation, during spare time on weekends and school breaks, you, philomathy, study more about your favorite interests, such as ancient history or computer programming. Stagnation, just relax, play video games, and socialize with friends in the metaverse. I added that. Second situation, when a friend starts using big words like philomathy in conversation, you, philomathy, find you want to increase your own vocabulary and embark on a serious daily study. Stagnation, dismiss her language as pedantic, though you have yet to learn that word. Third situation, reading how Sanskrit is related to many of today's languages, you, philomathy, are inspired to learn the basics of the Sanskrit script and grammar. Stagnation, conclude that Sanskrit is a dead language and think no more about it. And reflection, take a moment to identify a few ways in which you could improve in philomathy. And the assignment, spend time these next 2 weeks advancing your knowledge in areas of strong interest. Period. Om.